Good mid-morning from East Texas. This is Coffee and Conversations. It's not really raining right now. It rained yesterday, but it seems to rain every time we do a podcast. Why is that? What do you think?
Well, it might be that it's been raining about half the time anyway. We've had a couple of 3 sunny days.
This cycle shows up and it's always raining. Wow. Well, I'm Jason Goodson. I'm here with
Johnny Taylor.
And we are joined again from a young man in southern Mississippi, Stuart Shoemake. How are you doing, Stu?
Well, doing great.
Stu is celebrating today. This is March 8th, and he's celebrating a anniversary today by joining us on this podcast while his wife is in class. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
She's actually teaching.
Oh, she's actually teaching.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Stu, I heard a tale today that you got back early and skipped church yesterday. And I just wanted to let you know up front that you're going to have to get yourself right before you go back down there again to be able to walk into the sanctuary. So make plans on getting right first.
Well. Okay.
That deep subject there.
Yeah, it's a deep subject. Yeah.
I have no guilt. I'll put it like that.
Okay,
Good for you.
Good for you. Of course, I had to get myself right after I left church yesterday, so it was just kind of, opposite attracts, almost.
Yeah.
Well, grab yourself some coffee and possibly a bagel to go with your coffee today, because we consumed one today, didn't we?
Yep.
Very good. It tasted very good. Had some cream cheese on it. Well, Stu.
Yes.
2 years of marriage.
Yep.
2 years, man. What do you think?
Hope for many more, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe you guys dated for 5 years.
Yes, we did.
Now, that's a courtship right
Stu
there.
always takes a long time, anything he does. but that's a good thing.
It is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was well worth the wait for 5 years for that girl, too. She's a sweetheart.
Ooh, tell me about it.
Well, we had ourselves some Hollywood in Mineola, Texas this past week. So Wednesday morning, I'm driving into town. Just a little less than a week ago, I'm driving into town, and there is barriers set up on the left side of our downtown area where the movie theater is, and it's got caution, police tape, don't cross. I pull in and get out of the truck, and everybody's outside. There's tons of people, and I asked everybody who got shot. I wasn't sure what was going on, and then they proceeded to tell me that they were filming the opening to the show in our downtown area at the theater for the home makeover this past week.
I hear you pouring coffee, Stu.
Yes, you do.
Are you pouring coffee?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm glad.
I didn't know it was going to be so loud.
It sounded like something else, but we won't go there.
Oh, my God.
I was like, is he urinating right now? I mean, what is going on here?
Go to places podcasts have never gone before.
My goodness. I mean, what?
Oh, man. My coffee got cold.
Next time a fair warning would be nice.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Boy.
Oh, my. I'm glad we have a good time.
So anyways, yeah. So this big old, Hollywood. I mean, this all the cameras. You see all the, everything, and on the sign there it said tonight Bill Engvall. So Bill Engvall was in town, And we got to
He was the celebrity guest.
celebrity guest for, yep, exactly right. He came in. He's from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. And so JT took some smashing photos, I must say. At the, he took some, he propped himself. This is JT. This is how far JT goes. He goes the extra mile in whatever he does. JT props himself up on the light pole in the street to where you can, because they have a big base and a bottom, and they're those old timey lights that
Got me just above everybody's head.
He got just enough, and he held on. You had to have been there for an hour and a half, something like that, taking pictures. And so anyway, and it was fun. We had a good time, and I will say I met both. I met Bill Engvall and I met Ty Pennington, both, and they were both just regular Joes. Good guys, very approachable, and they're at least the volunteers and the people of the home makeover who come in and do the things for the family that they've done. They really did a good job of presenting themselves to the people of Mineola this weekend. The report back from them has been pretty positive about coming to the East Texas area. So good job, East Texas area folks, of just being cordial and not overbearing and having a good reputation now.
Yep. And there may be some of our friends that are in the opening scene, and even the hot dog stand. We eat hot dogs at all the time.
That's right. It will be an open scene.
So hopefully, if they don't cut it out, we'll find out.
Right. That'd be awesome. So, all right. Next, moving on. This next thing is from Facebook, and I've got to talk about this, because if you know my wife at all, you know that she doesn't make hay very much. Okay, and she's not the person to call out anybody for any reason, especially on like theological or issues such as that. But last night, she called somebody out on Facebook, man, and I'm just like, it blew me away. And if you know my wife at all, she doesn't say anything unless she has something to say, and usually when she says it, it's right on. So this pastor had posted on his no local pastor in the area, but he had posted on there that it was a good day at church. The services were packed. Both services were packed. Then he says, more importantly, 3 people gave their lives to Christ. He used the phrase, gave their lives to Christ. And so Kathy aptly responds to this post and says, don't forget that the most important part is Jesus gave his life to them.
Oh, wow.
Go Kathy.
I was like, oh my
That's
goodness.
awesome.
I was like, Kathy, man, I'm so proud of you right now. I don't know. I was beaming, I was just, hearing all this. And anyway, she doesn't say it unless it needs to be said. And she was like asking me if it was okay, if it wasn't, if it wasn't offensive or anything like that. I said, babe, I said, nothing's offensive about telling the truth. I mean, and if he takes it as offensive, then good. He needs to think about how he says it. Because that is a big lie. If we gave our lives to Christ as if we had something to do with salvation, then Christ wouldn't be, who he said he was. God would not be,
Which kind of leads us to our topic today.
Yeah, it does. In a very real way.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we use phrases like that a lot to try to justify the way we to make ourselves feel good about actually having a part of something.
Yeah.
And so, anyways,
well, an emphasis becomes on us giving rather than on God doing.
God doing, right? It becomes totally different. You're right about that. It fired me up though, that she had enough of a presence about her to see that, and man, it just fired me up because she does care. You do see it in her, and she does have a giving heart and a loving heart. But she's like, all right, but she does that to me too. So I I get that just as much. So it's good stuff. So JT, from the inside out.
Yep. There's actually a book called that.
Is there a book called that?
It's by Larry Crabb. I think I have it sitting on my shelf over there. But
It is. That's so strange.
You know, there's a song called that too.
Yeah, from Hillsong, right?
Hillsong.
Yeah, it's interesting. We over here we are working on relationship ministry.
that's pretty much all our ministry.
This is our ministry, yeah, in the East Texas area, and it's a different form of ministry because it doesn't require a program to run it.
No. It just kind of happens.
It doesn't require money to make it happen either. And the difference about all this is that when God gives his life, which is what happens, we become, Galatians 2:20 says, I've been crucified in Christ. We die. He gives us his life.
Yep.
That's the exchange
Yep.
that happens.
Yeah, which we won't mention why that's so important here.
Which is the exchange. But what happens is this, is that we have been given his life. He's the one that saves. He's the one that draws us in. He's the one that gives us the life that we have eternally. Now, the interesting thing is that the change, the spirit on the inside becomes new, and guess what? This stuff gets to be revealed in us.
Yeah, it's not
through us to other people.
It's not about changing our outside. It's about what's already changed being shown on the outside.
There it is.
Right.
It's already happened on the inside.
And the mistake that we often make is that there's still something we have to perfect. There's something that's still that we have to do to make it right. Now there's always that the evidence of this flesh that we still hang on to, that's still a part. And I don't, we've talked about this before. I don't get it. I don't get the part where it's so, maybe it's because I've already walked through it and I've got an understanding of it. But man, I know that I've held on and clung to whatever means I could to try to produce something that only God could produce.
Yeah.
In the past.
So you're trying to create on the outside what's already true on the inside, then you can't create that.
Right.
Not in the flesh.
Right. Good stuff. Well, we got some good verses to share with you today from 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We could probably talk about the whole chapter.
The whole chapter is just great.
Because a lot of this stuff plays out not only in our personal lives, it also plays out in our buildings that we go to for church.
Yeah.
We see what and look, I'm speaking from a person who is a youth pastor going to church, and I'm not. And believe me when I say this, it becomes you see the little things that man has made up to try to make the flesh better, and you see the rituals, you see the stuff that comes out that's just gross, and sometimes it's difficult to participate in and see it happen. But the good thing that we get to observe during that time is that knowing on the inside that there is real life and there is change on the inside. And my job is just to be myself and be Jason. I can't be anybody else.
Yep.
I can't put JT on and try to make JT look like JT through me. Stu, you can't do that if you're trying to be Jason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and your kids are my kids, the kids at the church, they cannot totally, come in and I tell them all the time, I am a terrible version of God. Don't try to be like me.
Yeah.
because they have to identify themselves in Christ, who has given them life. He's the one that's given them life and made them who they are. So, share these verses with us, JT. This is good stuff. Where do you want to start?
Well, let me throw one out there first, and we'll talk about it a little bit. 2 Corinthians 4:7. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us.
Ooh.
That just, see, we're constantly. We just got to admit, this is an earthen vessel we have.
Right.
Quit trying to make it into a gold pot.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
There's a purpose. The reason it's an earthen vessel is so that God can show forth. And it won't be human effort.
Man, it's good, man.
And that fires me up. And it's like, it's an earthen vessel. Just get the point. It's an earthen vessel, Oh.
And it's not like this earthen vessel is, it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be the gold. Those things are not necessary. Just like you're saying. It's not necessary that we do that.
And I think one of the main things, it says earthen vessel in the King James, but it's really a pot of clay is what it's called.
Jars of clay, it says in the ESV.
Yeah, clay, which is never really a good thing most of the time.
Mostly when you're forming clay, unless you're doing it on a spinning wheel. But if you're forming a clay, if you're working with Play-Doh, and the only thing I can attend it to is every time I work with clay with my girls at home, well, what you end up seeing is their fingerprints on it, and in a kind of a mistaken form of what they want it to be. But to them, it's a treasured pot. To them, it's gold,
Yeah.
But on the outside, it just doesn't look very pretty.
And here's the thing: we're trying to. This is the thing that's always said. Well, I've got to be worthy to contain God, kind of. Well, it's not really the way to say it, but that's what's going on.
Right.
Okay, so I've got to ornament myself and make all the things on the outside look right. I got to do all the right things to be the kind of pot that holds God. And that's exactly the opposite of what God wants: an earthen vessel that doesn't dim the view of Him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want all the ornaments to hide who He is on the inside and who you are on the inside. That's what He wants people to see, what He's done on the inside of you.
Right.
He could care less what the outside of you looks like.
Right.
That'll get me in trouble for saying that. We're getting to where we're good at that here on our podcast.
And it's so much more glorifying to God for something glorious and beautiful to come out of something that looks like a piece of junk.
Yeah.
You know what it is that's coming out of us? It's Christ.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing.
And we're and our life, that's our life that's showing up.
Right.
He is our life in there.
Exactly.
If I do away with this earth, when this earthen vessel dies, guess what's left?
Right.
My life, which is Him.
4:5 says, "For what we proclaim is not ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, with ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ."
And in verse 10.
What does it show through? It shows through us, the jars of clay.
Yes, and in verse 10, always carrying about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our bodies. What's supposed to show up?
Jesus.
And the life of Jesus is not getting all your ducks in a row. It's not doing all the religious stuff. That's not the life of Jesus.
No, it's not.
Those things might result in His life showing up.
Right.
But don't get the cart before the horse. Make sure it's His life showing up and not you trying to be a copy of His life.
Oh.
Ouch.
Because we know, I'm just going to go ahead and say this, because we know what the fake lamb is.
Yeah.
The fake Christ.
Right.
So don't be one of that. Don't be that. Don't try to be that. Let Jesus' life manifest itself. And that, I tell you what, that means we're going to die. That's painful too.
It's very painful because you're giving up control.
Verse 12.
That you've never had.
Yeah, verse 12. So then death is working in us. Death. There ain't nothing good about death.
No,
Nothing fun about that. It's working in us, but life in you. If Jesus shows up, manifest in our mortal body, life will work in other people.
Right. And there's nothing, and believe me, I'm going to say nothing again. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing the life of Christ being manifested. And you could see it
Yeah.
all over the place.
And there's nothing more drawing to other people than that.
Right.
Because people are drawn to life.
Look, in college, and I use this in conversating with JT earlier, in college, there was a guy I hung out with that I could not go anywhere with him or do anything without him specifically handing a tract to somebody that he did not know, or putting a tract all over the stores, or what it ended up being was that we were shoving a piece of paper down somebody's throat. And Jesus was not being made manifest through that at all. Death was more. I think we delivered more death than we did life to anybody.
Well, and God might lead somebody. God's life might show up and do that, but that's the whole point. It sounds more like that was, I'm trying to be what I think God. I'm trying to be on the outside what I think God wants me to be,
Right.
rather than letting God live through.
Right. And I don't know. It got to where, and I was. And at that point in time, this is when I was pretty much the, living in the height of my Pharisaical, days, and it was starting to be sickening to my stomach to be a part of that, because all of a sudden I realized that nobody was responding. Nobody, or they were scared half to death, and we were conjured into it,
Can I go back to the relationship ministry here?
Yeah.
Because another thought just struck me on that. Because I was telling Jason this morning, I was talking about, do people actually love others without an agenda?
Yeah.
Because loving with an agenda is not true love.
Right.
That's selfishness.
Yeah.
And I was thinking how relationship ministry is, God gives you relationships with people and you love them, but you leave what God's going to do with them to God. Now, God may use His life coming out of you at times,
Right?
But it's just like, and this is what your flesh will say, because this is what you hear a lot, is, well, you're not loving them if you don't share the gospel with them. The gospel is Jesus, and our flesh does a real poor job of showing forth Jesus.
Right.
Very poor. But that's what I see most places, is people's flesh. People who want to know God and love God, but they're trying to get their flesh in order, and they think by their flesh, okay, I'm going to share the love of God, and in their flesh they go out and share the gospel. And Paul said, okay, for whatever reason, it's good to share it, but
Right.
those people are seeing their flesh,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to get people to come to God by showing them their flesh. And that's a scary thing, because your flesh, I don't care what your flesh is doing. It could be religious and look like a good thing, but if it's the flesh, it's death.
Right.
What was it Tozer said? The flesh is just as comfortable in a Bible conference as it is in a bar.
As it is in a bar.
Anything it can live off. It can live off of either one equally.
Ooh. Love Tozer.
Oh, yeah.
Tozer's good, man. If you haven't read Tozer, you need to go read Tozer.
A.W. Tozer.
That's right.
Pursuit of God.
Oh, good
Maybe
stuff.
one of the best books ever.
Yep. Awesome.
Johnny, what you said about the flesh being death, if you go down to verse 16, says, so we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away.
Exactly.
Our inner self is being renewed day by day.
It's right. That's good.
If you want to get somebody to come to your building, let's say, if you want to get them to come to your building,
Right.
do you put somebody out there live presenting it to them, or do you put a dead body out there that stinks?
Yeah.
How many people are you going to get to come into your place if you lay a corpse out there for them to see?
And you can put the nicest suit you want on that corpse,
Exactly.
but it don't make it any more alive.
Exactly, and it don't make it look
Any
good
more
no matter
pretty.
what you do.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man, what a picture, man. What a picture.
I
Holy
want
smokes.
somebody. I want the living God out there calling them to the building. I don't want my corpse of this flesh out there, because if they come to that, oh my goodness, they're in bad shape anyway.
Yeah. That's sick. It's sick. Man, that's true though. Man, is that not what we do? It's not what we do, is it?
But you know something? People will come to that corpse because they're so afraid God's going to burn them.
Oh, man. Oh.
They'll come hug that corpse in a heartbeat.
Oh, man. Well, I see it regularly.
Oh, yeah.
And
Which is more a reason why they need a true taste.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's what I was talking about. The relationship ministry is loving people because God's given you a heart for a relationship with that person, not just a heart for that person, but a heart to build a relationship with that person. And then having a relationship without an agenda to change them.
Right.
And saying, okay, God, you've given me this relationship. I have a heart for them to know you, but I'm just going to have a relationship with them and depend upon you to give them a taste of yourself. Because if they get a taste of God, they're going to start searching and go looking for Him.
Right. Well, we've seen, and I say that, we've seen over the years the results of how God changes people and how He works out life in them. He takes, it's been a journey. Needless to say, stepping into the area here that we've been able to come in and really see this manifest itself. Yeah. To use the word manifest, to reveal itself in some strange ways. But the bottom line is that is what brings life. That's what shows forth its life, and it's God doing it, and it's such a it's so much easier to go home at night and sleep, knowing that God is doing His thing, and that you are able to just to be a part of that, and participate in that, and
I get to experience it.
Yeah, we
without
get to experience
doing the work.
Exactly. The agenda behind it. I don't know. I'm not searching for the crown. It's not like, okay, Jason, you got some jewels because of this one. No, I could care less about that.
Yeah,
that's not the agenda. That's not the part of it.
I get to enjoy God's life also when it's coming out.
Man, that's right.
To other people.
Right. Good stuff, man. And it says, don't lose heart.
Yep.
Like you just said in verse 16. So we don't lose heart. Though the outer self is wasting away, it's a good verse, and the inner self is being renewed day by day, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. And in verse 18 it says, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. And if you think about it, the flesh that we carry around, this flesh that we see, it's transient. Yep. It's a vapor.
And when it's all gone,
it's a momentary affliction.
It excites me about what's left.
Right.
Good, but that's already here.
It's already true.
We just can't see it quite.
Right.
Hey, man, I can totally relate with the losing heart part, being in youth ministry.
Right.
When I'm trying to, get these kids to see Jesus.
Right.
And I'm doing it out of my own.
Yeah, when you have an agenda, then if it don't come true,
right?
Yeah,
you tend to lose heart.
Oh man, it's exactly right.
It is a load you do not want to bear.
No,
it's heavy.
It is heavy. You're right.
But if you just go love in the relationships God gives you, and without the agenda. Then when you see God moving in little ways, man, it'll fire you up.
Yes.
Because you know it's Him.
Right.
And more every time I see, we don't know other people's scars.
No.
We don't know their hurts. We don't know their fears. God does, though. So He knows how to give His life to them in slow little bits and pieces.
Right.
So they don't choke to death.
Oh man. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Think about this. We have an awesome responsibility in just being ourselves.
Yeah.
Think about that.
God created us to manifest himself. And there's enough of him. If he manifested something different in every one of his children, they would never be all of him manifested.
Right.
So don't freak out because everybody's not exactly the same.
Right. Exactly right. And dude, and ultimately, man, that just fires me up, man. You got me all, I'm all juiced right now.
Thinking about this and looking back on the past week, I took two of my boys to go eat sushi, and then they went grocery shopping with me too, and just because they were with me, they were out of school, they were just looking for something to do,
right.
And so they probably saw more Jesus through me in that 2.5 hours they spent with me than they ever do on Wednesday night when I'm worrying about presenting the gospel correctly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, Stu, is we shouldn't even worry about that. I mean, as we stand and teach, and as we do what God has called us to do there, it's Him. He's the one that's going to show forth Himself through us. And that's the thing, is that you going out and doing that with those kids is more. That's gonna impact their life more than we ever do in a 45 to an hour minute session on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the time that you spend outside of those little moments building relationships is going to be huge down the road. Look, I grew up and this impacted my life. I grew up with a guy who taught some truth, I think, down the line, but the majority of the stuff he said on Wednesday nights just went in my ear and out the other ear. It was the time outside of that wall that he spent with us, taking us to ball games, doing those little things like that, letting us come to his house and hang out, helping him build stuff at his house, just doing those little things. It didn't matter what he taught at that moment as far as being true or untrue, but I love that guy to this day because he gave us a picture of life outside of that.
He gave of himself.
Yeah. And it was like Jesus, and we got to see Jesus in a form that, I didn't understand it at the time as a kid, but I understand it now because we get to participate in that, and it's relational and it's good.
Yeah.
Boy, that's fired me up. Man, good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Oh, man.
Any final thoughts there, Steve?
Well, just thinking, listening to that and thinking that when you have that relation, when you form that relationship and you really make a bond with them in that way, it makes what happens on Wednesday night or Sundays or whenever it is that you meet as a community more meaningful and more real to that person.
Right.
If they have a relationship with you and they see God in you daily instead of just you getting up there and spouting off once a week.
Right.
Yep.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks for joining us today. Very glad that we had the opportunity to take some time of yours and be a part of your day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading, and let us know how you feel. Let us know what you're feeling. Talk to us about the subject of relational ministry. Give us an example of what you have gone through and what you have seen and how Jesus has manifested himself in ways to you, maybe growing up or maybe as a part of what you're doing now in your daily work or in your life, or if you're a part of ministry. We want to hear from you. Go to our website, TaleoRidge.com, and send us an email and let us know what you're going through. Anything else?
I think that's it for me today.
All right.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Hey, thanks, Stu, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody have a good week.